Hello everyone, I'm going to start with just showing the full functionality of my app here. So I'll go ahead and sign in. So we are signed in, and so what my app allows people to do is grab a URL from a website that has a recipe on it that they want to see, and if they paste the URL here and click this button, it'll post all the recipe instructions and ingredients without loading any of the ads or images or unnecessary text. So if we look at this website as an example, you can see there are a lot of pictures here, a lot of ads, just unnecessary text, and frankly it's kind of hard to find where the recipe even begins. So if I click back here, I'm just going to copy the URL, paste it in here, click get recipe, and then you can see we have the title of our recipe, the source it came from, we have our ingredients here, and these steps. And so from here we have some other things that we can do with this. We can choose to email the recipe to ourselves, just if we want to look at it through our email. I'm actually going to send it to a different email address for viewing purposes. So I click email recipe, and now there it is. We have our email with the recipe, the ingredients, the instructions, notes if we had any. I didn't add any notes to that recipe. I'll show that in a little bit. And then also a link to the recipe if we needed to look at the actual website itself. So the next thing we can do is we can search for similar recipes if we click this button here. So you can see it populates this list with different websites that have a similar recipe if we just wanted to look at different ones. So let's just click on one here from jennycancook.com, and you can see it loads the recipe here. And the final thing we can do with this is we can save it to our cookbook. So if we click the save button here, we can add notes to the recipe, like say we want to add a note to use 2 eggs instead of 1. So we can just write that in here. Add 1. Save the recipe. You can see our notes pop up here. And if we want to go view that in our cookbook, we can click up here in my cookbook. And where is it? Oh, it's right here. So you can see it's been added to our database along with all the other recipes. And if we wanted to view that recipe again, we just have to click on it and it'll bring it back up along with our notes. If we go back to my cookbook, if we decide later we want to delete that recipe, we can just click this icon here. We'll get this confirmation message, and we can click delete, and it's deleted from our cookbook. Okay, next I'm going to show my team's product and sprint backlog, which you can see up here and down here. Let's take a look at my user stories. So let's start with this one. Basically, the definition of done for this just says that we want to be able to delete a recipe from our cookbook if possible. So, or if we want to do that. So let's go to our cookbook. Let's say we want to delete this one here, the ultimate burger recipe. Delete that, and it's gone. And if we click refresh, you can see that it actually was deleted from the database and wasn't just a Ajax delete. Let's go to our next user story. Okay, so what the definition of done for this one is that when the user clicks a button, it will populate a list for us with similar recipes. So we have this carbonara recipe. If we click this search button, we have this list that populates with all these different carbonara recipes from different websites, so we can click on them and get the recipe that way. And our final user story is basically just we want to be able to save a recipe to a cookbook, and when we save it we should have the option to add a note to that recipe as well. So if we go back to this recipe, let's click save, and let's say use 1 cup of Parmesan. That's going to be the note we're going to add to this recipe. We can save the recipe, the note gets added. We can go to our cookbook and we can find that recipe. Don't know why it's called scrambled egg pasta. That actually sounds kind of gross, but we'll go ahead and click on it, and there are our notes for that recipe. Finally, just needed to mention what features are actually implemented in this sprint. So those features were this nav bar up here, which you can click to navigate through the website. And they also added the notes feature here. And if we don't have any notes for a recipe, they will not pop up for that recipe. So that concludes my video, and thanks for watching.